glad you chose to be a part of this group tonight. And I'm glad you're here, and we're going to be a part of the group called Discovering the Leader Within. And then we're going to be for the next 10 sessions, including tonight, with each other every week. And we're going to talk tonight about what we anticipate accomplishing during that time. We're going to talk about how the format of most of the sessions will go. We'll discuss around and what that is. We'll discuss confidentiality and what that means and what the risks and limits are associated with that. And we'll get to know each other a little bit. My name is Lanny Hall, and I'm a grad student here at UTSA, and I've been a member of a few groups, and I found them to be very worthwhile. If I'll just do a little bit of investing in a group, I find my return on investment is very good, and I'm sure you're going to find the same thing. So, on tonight's group, as we said, what are we going to look at over these next 10 sessions together? And discovering and developing the leader within. As we look at the leaders throughout history, as well as the leaders we have in our own individual lives, we can see that they're all unique. Some of them are fiery, and some have a completely different personality, but they're not cookie-cutter people. They're all individuals. And I look around this room, and I see you guys are all individuals. We're all unique and different, but we all have characteristics within us that we can develop that fit us, where we can be strong leaders and effective leaders, whether we're leading 3 people or whether we're leading a nation. And we don't know what's going to come about in our lifetimes, but we're going to start preparing ourselves to be more effective leaders through these next 10 weeks together. And we'll have some discussions about different leaders and see what fits. As we look at the process, we'll meet each week starting at 7:15. We'll start with a round, and I'll explain that in just a second. And we'll have some discussion and interaction, and I'll bring some information, and you can as well in the future weeks about what we'll discuss. And we'll conclude each session with a round as well, right at 8:15. And I'm going to respect your time and honor that. We're not going to go late. We're going to start right on time and finish right on time for each of these next 10 weeks on Tuesday night. And what a round is I'll bring up a topic or a question, and it's not the kind of question that has a right or wrong answer for you to respond to. And when you respond to the question, usually it's within a couple of sentences or so. It'll give me an idea of what you're thinking, what you're understanding, what you're bringing to the table on this particular topic, and then we'll have some place to work from. If we end up bringing up something and when it's your turn to visit and to bring that information forth, if you're thinking I'm not going to answer, either because you have a blank mind for that moment or whatever your reason is, you can option to pass. All you have to do is say pass. And we'll skip you and go to the next person and come on around, and we'll come back around and let you join in as we finish it. And if by chance I bring up a topic or a question that wouldn't be healthy for you to answer that night, and I'm never going to do that intentionally, and I can't imagine that happening, but if it were to happen, you have the option of just saying pass, period. I don't want to answer that tonight, and we'll honor that as well. So that will be how we deal with our rounds, and I'll give an example of that in a minute. But our confidentiality, what do we say when we're visiting with each other, and who do we share that information with? Well, confidentiality is just simply saying what we say in this room stays in this room. We're not going to gossip to coworkers or fellow students or family members. We're going to keep that information. We're going to honor it and keep it in here so we can be free to be open with each other without the worry of it being shared somewhere else. I'll give you that commitment myself. I'm not going to share anything that we say in here with anybody else, no gossiping at all. Of course, the risk is that are you guys willing to do that as well? And I believe that you'll probably choose to realize the value of that and keep it in this room. But there's a couple of common sense exceptions to confidentiality that I'll put on the table so you know. 2 categories. One is if I suspect that there's abuse of a child or of an older person or of a person with disabilities, any vulnerable person, I have to report that so we can make sure that that abuse would not continue, of course. And the second category is if we were to learn that you were considering doing harm to yourself or even suicide or doing serious harm to someone else, of course I'm going to go get any help we need outside of the group to prevent a tragedy like that from happening. We'll get the help. So those are the exceptions to confidentiality. We're going to keep things healthy here, I believe. Let's make it a safe constructive, healthy sharing. Are y'all willing to keep what we say here in here? Is that something you're willing to do as a group? You're just a head nod? Cool. That's all of us. Well, I think that'll make it safer. Let's start tonight with an opening round, and it'll have to do with, I'll start and be the example. Is I want you to think of a person that you consider to be a leader. Doesn't have to be your favorite leader, but a person you consider to be a leader, and tell me one characteristic about them that you appreciate. And I'll start as the example. And remember, every time you're going to say your name, and then you'll give your answer. So my name is Lanny Hall. And a leader that I'll mention tonight that I'm thinking of is Tom Landry. And most of you all have heard of Tom Landry somewhere back there. He was a coach, a football coach for the Dallas Cowboys for many years. And one quality about him that I thought was really cool was that he stayed cool under pressure. And that's pretty neat. Right. So that's what I've shared. So as we're going around, it'll be your turn, if you will. You give us one leader that you can think of and a quality that you admire.
Okay, my name is Isel. And I was thinking in a person who was my boss in the past. His name is Jose. And I admire so much his ability to do every single function of his employees. He can do that, he can do the most simple activity until the most complex executive function. And he was proud of that.
Well, Giselle, so it sounds like you had firsthand experience of someone that showed you leadership by being a doer and being willing to do whatever it took to the same thing that his coworkers would appreciate. Well, good. Thank you for sharing, Giselle. I appreciate that.
My name is Rebecca, and a leader would have to be my sister Danielle. She is a manager at a bank here in town, and even though she knows she's not perfect and she knows that she makes mistakes, she's just very confident in her competency and in her knowledge, and I admire that a lot. Something I aspire to have myself, and something that I look forward to developing.
That's good. So you've had firsthand experience as well, so a family member who shows the confidence that you have and you want to grow in,
Yes.
and a leader as well. Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Rebecca.
Sure.
My name is Katrina, and a leader that I would like to be more like is the boss that I have at work named Kathy. And she's just very knowledgeable, but she's a very hard worker. She'll do any kind of work under the sun to get the job done, so I admire that about her.
Right. So I'm glad you had a boss that's willing to show the hard work that some of the others have talked about as well, just willing to get in and get the job done. Thank you, Katrina.
My name is Alana, and I would say my sister. And a trait I admire is that she has a lot of wisdom. She keeps her family together. Does a good job.
So your sister is another first-hand person. You've been able to observe some of her leadership qualities and showing that she keeps her family together. Probably, that's not always an easy chore. That's quite a task. Wow. So I'm noticing a couple of different themes that we've got going on here. One is that we have some people that we know through work that we've been able to observe, some leadership qualities that we appreciate, and some people that we have firsthand family experience with, in this case both sisters, that happen to show some qualities that we appreciate and admire. As you were listening to this sharing going on, who did you most resonate with tonight's question of the others that were sitting here?
Well, I really connected with Alana.
Rebecca, just tell Alana how you connected with her.
Hi, Alana. Obviously what he mentioned with family ties, I can appreciate not taking that, just looking at family and seeing the qualities in them that you aspire to have as well. I think leaders take a lot of different forms, and there are people in my life, also not just my sister, that have parental leadership skills that I have as well. So I really identify with that.
Thanks, Rebecca. Alana, what's it like to feel somebody else that resonated with what you had to say when Rebecca was talking to you? Can you let her know what that was like?
I feel like we have a lot in common. So, yeah, I felt it felt good to hear someone kind of share your story in some aspects.
Well, good. I appreciate you been doing that interaction and that sharing. We're going to continue to learn from each other.